Good evening.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
I'm
You
watching you
watching me
type.
edit?
Yes.
I thought about it. I just had to put that link in real quick. So that company did I think it was Kickstarter. It was one of the crowdsourcing funding rounds for their Lord of the Rings release pins,
Oh,
and
wow.
um, I had ordered it that way, and it was just neat to see that they have them on the site now. So it was just a neat side thing that's like, oh, I should look and see if they're actually selling these uh, officially now, or if it was just the crowdsource stuff, because mine came in
The,
today.
oh, those are really cool. Which one did you get?
The Ring Bearer and Gandalf. So I got two, the green and the silver.
Nice, nice.
And I
Those are
don't write
beautiful.
very often with a pen, so now I'm gonna have to like make myself do some.
And the ink is, they each came with a little bottle of ink.
Yes. So the I don't remember what they call the colors. Let me grab them.
Oh, I love the colors of ink. There's a
Dawning Silver and Verdant Voyage. That's what they call them. So green and silver ink.
very cool. I was, when I first discovered ASMR and that it was, well, when I say discovered, I mean the name and the fact that there are, you know, videos on YouTube that are specifically made to elicit that response. I came across a guy who I'm fairly confident lives in Birmingham. I tried to reach out to him privately just to say, "Hey, I think I recognize your voice from." I think he did an ad on WBHM, the local NPR station, and he does an ASMR video. But what made me think of that is he does a lot of stuff with pens and fountain pens and ink and so forth, and he's got a nice soothing voice, and he will load up pens and so forth. And these pens, they'd be really fun to see on his channel. So,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, they caught my eye. Oh, well, they caught my eye obviously first because of the Lord of the Rings licensing. But I used to play around with doing a lot of calligraphy anyway, and ordering it through. I don't know if it's the same way off the website. I didn't look that close, but doing the crowdfunding, the kit comes with the calligraphy nib as well as the standard nib. And so I have two calligraphy nibs, one that came with each pen, and
nice.
a Lord of the Rings calligraphy book that actually
Oh,
has the
cool.
Elvish writing, like from the ring and everything, that you can learn to do appropriately.
That's very cool.
Yep. Now I just have to find time to play with it.
Always,
But in the
always looking
meantime,
for the
I
time.
can load up ink and just use it as a pen. So
Yeah, I I caught up on your episodes of Renegade Noble. I was wondering why you've got a couple of 1 minute clips on the channel.
yeah, just clips. So the when you go through uploading, one of the recommendations that YouTube makes is to also create shorter clips for them to serve up for visibility purposes. And so I don't really want to take the time to make a bunch of them, but I figure with each episode that I upload, if I just pick a clip from the episode that maybe would be the thesis or summary statement or kind of,
Abstract.
yeah, then maybe it'll generate more traffic over time.
Oh, cool. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool. I did not know that they suggested that. So,
I had not seen it before, and then
I haven't either.
and I hadn't seen it when I uploaded like the teaser or anything else I've uploaded ever before either. So I don't know if it's a new suggestion, but I saw it when I uploaded episode 0.
I wonder if it's new suggestion, or maybe they tell you over time, okay, you've got plenty of videos, you can delete those little shorter clips or whatever. Maybe, I don't know. No, but
That's
it's I think it's more likely it's a newer thing they're saying.
probably, and I think it's to like if you scroll just general recommendations, I see a lot of things that look like that might be kind of what they come from. Just for visibility's sake, it's often a lot easier to serve up like the clip instead of the full thing if it's longer form. So it may be like after a certain threshold on timing, they give you the suggestion as well. I don't know.
What is the? I feel like the audio was significant. The audio quality was different between the two episodes. Like in episode 0 versus episode 1. Episode 1, I felt like the audio quality was a lot better.
Yeah.
Did you change microphone? What's going on there?
Yeah, intentionally. So the way I shot episode 0 was using just a shotgun mic on the camera, instead of doing like a boom mic or a lavalier. And in the episode 1, I'm wearing a lavalier mic.
Gotcha. Yeah, so no, I noticed a significant upgrade in audio quality on episode 1. I also noticed that the background changed colors. You went from red to blue.
Blue to red. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I figure I'm just
Is that a
gonna
light?
put something different each time. It is.
Okay, cool. Like it doesn't look like a light. It does. It looks like it's part of it. It doesn't look like it's like spray paint or something. But I didn't realize it was a light until it changed colors.
Yeah, I don't remember what you call them, but it's essentially there's a hood that you put on the end of a light, and then you can put these shape inserts in the hood, and so it will cast that shape. And so if you wanted to create like the way light would come in from a window, for example, it's a perfect way to do it.
Okay. Are these different from gels?
They are.
Okay.
So the changing color of the light is actually the light itself has, it's not red, green, and blue. It's red, blue, and kind of a yellowish color, and then white.
Okay.
And so my thought
like
is
a
just
Philips Hue bulb.
No, not quite that fancy. But I figure I'll just play with different shapes for each episode just for fun.
That's cool. I like it. Other thing I was going to say was the B. So the B-roll that you use that we were talking about last time makes sense, and I was like, oh, it would have been fun to see. I don't know if you'd be able to find this B-roll, but it'd be fun to see somebody putting a shopping cart back as a sort of like a little Easter egg about this podcast. So
I thought about something similar and decided that I would stick with just the free stock footage I had for now first, because there's a site that I use called Pond5 that every week they'll advertise a free clip, and you can use it for your use in your projects without a problem.
Nice.
And so I'll look at the free clip each week, and if it's one that I like or think I might use, I'll grab it. Most of it is either drone footage or animal footage, or there were a couple of abstract ones that they've done. Like I've got one that's an animation, like a drawing of a bee flying. So if you think about the old just drawing animations like you would do still frame or something, it looks like that.
That's cool.
And the only reason I didn't go looking for specific stock footage to use was just because I didn't want to put any money into creating the videos for the first, 20, 30, however many. Any extra money, I should put it that way.
Right. No, that makes sense. It's build it up.
Yep.
Let it
I have
and
I have no problems going back and dropping different stock footage in later on a re-edited episode either. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was a thought I had. I liked it. I thought it was good.
There were a couple of specifically chosen clips for how they coincided with things in the video for sure. And then there were a couple that were just, I like this one and it's fun. So like the koala looking kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You could interpret it as part of the video, but it also is just fun.
Yeah, it was fun. But like the samurai, that was specific.
Yes. And the Tai Chi. Practicing Tai Chi on the beach.
Yes.
And actually, the green explosion was an intentional choice.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And
I can see that now.
The time lapse at the Capitol was obviously
yes. Oh, yeah, that
a
was
specific choice.
Oh, my God. So you had sent me, we'll get back to the other follow-up, but you sent I wanted to I never sent this to you. I realized I never sent this to you, but um, I I got to imagine. So for context for listeners, you sent me a screenshot from X from the Department of State stating that our nation, quote, our nation was founded on the recognition that moral virtue and a steadfast faith in God are necessary preconditions of freedom. Yet under the Biden administration, wow, they're just blaming the Biden administration, U.S. foreign policy belittled Christianity and weaponized government against faith. That era has ended. Under POTUS's leadership, the State Department will eradicate practices that devalue and demean the Christian faith. That's going to be interesting. And then another, you sent a Reddit article. The State Department tweets, quote, the State Department tweets our nation was founded on the same thing. So.
Yeah, the Reddit article just included a couple of links to like how the original source material was reported on and some commentary just for contextual awareness, because the tweet, I'm going to always call it a tweet.
Yes, as you should.
Was maybe condensed and reworded in a way that, while obviously the spirit of it is the author's intent anyway, it's not necessarily how the policy was written or what the reference was to or something to that effect. Doesn't really matter because it's still horrific shit being posted from any government agency, and it's complete and utter bullshit and blah, blah, blah. But all that doesn't matter in the scope of this particular conversation because it's like bad.
Yeah, no, it's so I have to imagine that it was on the roadmap. I assume that it was somewhere in Project 2025, and I'm wondering if it's being used right now. Like, how much of it, I'm hoping that it's a lot of bark and no bite, and I'm hoping even more so that it is. Well, I don't know if I'm hoping more so, but I'm wondering if it is meant to distract from the Epstein files, because things kind of started to simmer down, and then last Wednesday there was the rally with the victims who spoke out, which was, I don't know a better turn of phrase, but God bless them,
and
for being able to stand up like that and speak to their oppression.
And this is yet another instance where I oddly find myself aligning with Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Representative Greene she conservative so hard that she ran right around to liberal.
It definitely feels that way with a few recent developments, but I was just going to add in that I completely agree. The thing that I found surprising was, I don't remember the other representative, unfortunately, because it just surprised me that Representative Greene was the other co-sponsor or whatever you would. I don't remember the terminology either. But essentially, the representatives announced that they would bring the accusations to the Congress floor or something to that effect in order to shield the victims from having to do something or open themselves up to litigation. Or there was a lot of info there, and I kind of skimmed it and I got the gist of what it meant and left it at that, because I didn't expect to talk about it in any real detail. But all that is to say that I agree that this feels like it was trying to redirect a number of his supporters and their inquiries into the Epstein files themselves, because of a combination of that and the fact that he's losing some of his stalwarts congressionally who are actually siding with trying to get at this information. And if you follow that up to, I don't remember if it was today or yesterday, it was recent, where something was filed to specifically request portions of Epstein's files congressionally from a committee.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I believe the victims, and I don't. I understand. I both have some difficulty and some understanding as to why we need more than just the victim's testimony. But when you're fighting something this hard, was it Shakespeare who said he doth protest too much? I don't remember who
it
said
was.
That, but okay.
Well,
okay.
through a character, yes.
Yeah, was it in Much Ado About Nothing?
That's what I can't remember. That's what I wanted to say. So maybe.
Wow! Oh my gosh! I think Trump protests too much. Go
ahead.
I don't think innocent people struggle innocent people don't go through to this length to hide their innocence.
Yeah, there is no scenario in any way, shape, fashion, or form where he is innocent of these charges, or these accusations, I should say, not charges. I think the only question is just how involved, as opposed to whether he was involved. Like there's absolutely.
I think he was significantly involved.
That's the only reason I could see fighting it this hard. And on top of it, it's the only reason you could see that bullshit story from Speaker Johnson being put out as well.
God. Oh my God! FBI I think
because if that was,
didn't he try walking that back as well?
I don't know. I just know that if that was the case, you would have started with that long ago. You would have released the shit and say, and here's paperwork showing he was an informant, and like that's instant exoneration.
Here's what I think, because Speaker Johnson is not the brightest bulb in the box. And what I think is that he's probably thinking about it, maybe talked about it a little bit, and it feels like it just kind of came out in the moment.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. So some real-time follow-up. It is Queen Gertrude in Hamlet who says, the lady doth protest too much, methinks.
Okay.
And so we have shortened it to he doth protest too much to make it fit, or she doth protest too much to make it fit our needs. But the line is from Hamlet. So we both got Shakespeare right, but Much Ado About Nothing wrong.
That's all right. It was in my. It was. So I was thinking about Much Ado About Nothing a lot. Oh, that part I knew.
Okay.
I was just thinking about Much Ado About Nothing though because of Denzel Washington and Keanu Reeves.
Yes, and doesn't Michael Keaton have like a fantastic performance in that movie?
Yes.
Oh my God, he was so good. He was so good in that movie. Yeah. So, there was a thing one more thing I wanted to say about it, and it's like, you know what? I don't care if you're Representative Green or Senator Sanders. If you're saying the right things, if you're doing the right things, I support that. And if 100%. You're doing the wrong things, I don't support that. I don't care about the D, the I, or the R next to your name as your for your political affiliation. I do not care. Are you doing the right thing? Are you being decent? That's what I care about.
Yeah. And I don't think it's unclear based on how we've approached the topic over the years. But it is good to emphasize as well, because it's just, there are so many people who get so wrapped up into that letter being a part of their identity, and it becomes nonstop, absolute warfare as a result. And that's stupid.
I absolutely love when somebody says to me, well, what about what, they deflect and they say, well, what if, pick some Democratic politicians, like, what if this Democrat was doing this? I'm like, yeah, I'm against that too. I don't care. Wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what party you're affiliated with. Wrong is wrong. So I don't know if you had any more to say about that.
No, I don't think so.
So I was gonna say I think it was last episode or the episode before, I had mentioned Breaking Bad, and that the weather in that show, like I said, I was saying it was like close to being perfect, and there aren't any plot holes. I even did some asking on ChatGPT about plot holes for Breaking Bad, and everything that it served up that people suggest that could be plot holes. I'm like, no, this is not a problem for me. I can understand why you think this is a plot hole, but it really is not a plot hole for me. And I mentioned the weather, and that it always felt like autumn or winter in that show, and never spring or summer. And then we got to talking about, I don't know actually what the weather in Albuquerque or a lot of the West is like. And anyway, I finished Breaking Bad and started. I wanted to go through and watch I was rewatching it, when I have some time or whatever, and I started watching Better Call Saul, which is the prequel series, and it overlaps with Breaking Bad, but it's very much spring and summer looking in that show. I was reading that the creator Vince Gilligan was intending to. He wanted Better Call Saul to have a different look than Breaking Bad. He didn't want it to feel like Breaking Bad, even though it's not just in the universe, but it is like a direct prequel to that. And so I will say that the spring and autumn in Better Call Saul look really lovely. So I just noticed. I don't remember noticing that initially, but I noticed it this time, and I thought I'd say that since I had just talked about it.
I can respect the choice for sure.
Also, so Vince Gilligan has reached like the Quentin Tarantino Soderbergh status. It's like if he's got a project, I'm gonna watch it. And I got real excited because I saw that he has a project coming out on Apple TV Plus in November. I was surprised. I assumed that he was just he would be with AMC again, since everything he did with AMC, except for the movie. There was a Breaking Bad movie that followed one of the characters, like tied up. I mentioned last time or the time before that it tied up loose ends. The movie's called El Camino, and that was in association with Netflix. It was released by Netflix, but I thought it was interesting to see that he's got a show coming out on Apple TV Plus.
Do you have a name for the show?
Yes. The show is called Pluribus.
Okay.
And there's not a lot of information about it. There's a minor, just a minor plot explanation or summary, and it's going to be a science fiction drama. And I'm trying to remember. The premise is it's also set in Albuquerque, and it follows an author that seems to be the only person immune to a new virus which turns its sufferers perpetually content and optimistic.
I think I saw something about that one.
Yeah, I want to go see the trailers because it comes out month after next. And one of the stars from Better Call Saul is the lead character. And she was excellent in Better Call Saul. So I'm looking forward to this coming out. Of course, I'll wait till all the episodes are available because...
Of course.
That's how we roll.
I know we've talked about it, but I have been very impressed overall with Apple's content lineups.
So, yeah, me too. And we've talked about this before, and I'm glad you bring it up because I think so. I listen to a lot of Apple-centric podcasts, ATP, the talk show, and Macworld podcast, Macworld podcast is one that I listen to most of the time. Oh, and Cultcast. Anyway, it was interesting on the Macworld podcast, which one of the first podcasts I listened to. I remember listening to it in 2005. And they'll hit 1,000 episodes, and I think they're at like 948 or something like that. So they're getting close to 1,000 episodes. And I'll say happy birthday to this podcast because we started in September of 2020, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
Yeah. So happy birthday to us. Um, anyway, I got sidetracked there. Um, on the Macworld podcast, they were talking about how great the TV shows are on Apple TV Plus, and I agree. But they kind of like didn't have favorable things about the movies that have been released on Apple TV Plus, and I'm like, they I will agree that they do have some stinkers, but there were some movies that they were like um, didn't have a good opinion or a positive opinion of, and I was like, no, I thought that was a fun movie. I don't, it wasn't a great movie, but it was a fun movie.
Well, I think that would be the thing that has caught me between the movie and TV content, because I do see a difference, is that the movies seem more exploratory. Like they don't
Mm-hmm.
quite feel as, not necessarily standard or traditional. Like that's not the comparison that I want to make, but more there's something different about their intent, where it's kind of like they want to play with a lot of the similar things and all, but they want to give room for things that you might find more of from an independent filmmaker. Um,
But we need that
I agree.
because I mean I enjoy Marvel movies and I enjoy Star Wars movies, but we can't have just Marvel and Star Wars movies and comic book movies.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like a, and I haven't watched a whole lot of movies to have a huge um, basis of opinion with regard to the stuff that Apple has put out, because most of what I've watched off of Apple TV Plus have been TV shows. I've watched a few movies, and the movies have all been enjoyable enough that it's not like it's something that I would look down upon. It's just definitely not quite the same as what the intent with the series feels like for me.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I say it feels like they're trying to give more room for that kind of exploratory aspect of filmmaking. It's real tough to kind of put into a concrete, this quality is what I'm talking about. It's more, it feels more like these are the kinds of decisions that would get overruled in a studio in favor of money, as opposed to playing with the story or exploring something with the story. That's maybe the way I would put it.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good. I think that's a really good way of putting it. I, you know, um, I feel like they've had. I felt like wasn't Napoleon well received or well, didn't it have a good reception?
I'm not sure. I,
Okay.
I don't pay a whole lot of attention to the way content is received, generally speaking, unless I am specifically searching out something that I'm curious about how it was received, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
you know, I at this point, my decision making on content is me watching a trailer, and then I ignore everything else about it and go watch it.
I mean, that's not bad. I was going to say, I do know that CODA, which is an acronym for Children of Deaf Adults, it won 3 Oscars, like Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor, and like Best Adapted Screenplay. But like Best Picture, that's a hell of a that's the best you can do for a movie.
So one of the things that I find interesting, and it's going to be a similar parallel to one of the things that we've talked about before. But if you remember in the early days of HBO and how they would have content that was received critical acclaim, but didn't always receive great reception from the general
Oh yeah,
populace,
yeah.
Apple is in the same place now. Um, and I
They're the
think
new HBO.
they are. And this is why it's part of why I described it the way I described it, because critical acclaim is rarely equatable to blockbuster commercial success, which is why studios tend to do the same cookie
Mm-hmm.
cutter stuff or make the same kinds of decisions or the same types of derivative works, because there's a formula that drives business success. And
look at what's that movie? Toy Story and its sequels.
yeah,
I mean, I like them. I like all of them. They make me laugh, but you've seen one Toy Story, you've seen them all.
and I mean, Disney has been pretty consistent with that type of thing with everything they've done. You've got a formula that works, and you just adapt different stories to fit that formula. Like they've done it for decades. And Apple, just like any other studio, Apple has to recoup some cost, obviously. Otherwise, it's a failed business venture that eventually dies. So I'm not saying that they don't have to be concerned with a lot of those decisions, but they've got the reserves cash-wise to not be as concerned about a lot of those decisions. They can say, you know what, this project seems interesting, let's greenlight it and see what happens. And I think Ted Lasso is a perfect example of that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously,
it
going back to TV shows as opposed to movies, but like I don't see any scenario where Ted Lasso is made by any other studio.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Maybe Peacock, but it doesn't, but that's only because the character, that's only because the character showed up. I'm only saying that because the character showed up on NBC to promote, Jason Sudeikis showed up on NBC to promote the Premier League on NBC.
Yeah, but I think that's just a byproduct of how well received
yes.
Ted Lasso was.
No, it was before. No, it was before Ted Lasso, because Ted Lasso was a character that he created for ESPN ad, if I'm not mistaken. And then a few years later, he showed up. And the original Ted Lasso, I don't remember what. Yeah, it was. I think it was a. I'll have to go back and look, but that'll be follow up for next week. It was either initially to promote the Premier League in its first season, and then he showed up again in the studio with Rebecca Lowe, and then it was somebody thought, hey, that should be a TV show, and it's a great premise for Bill Lawrence thought that should be a TV show and made it happen with Apple TV Plus. So I don't think that they were. I don't think it was. Yeah, I want to say it was 2012 or 2013 when that character first showed up on NBC.
Okay.
So I went and watched a mini documentary about it, or when I say mini, like it would be a featurette that was on YouTube. I'll see if I can find it and send it to you. But I was gonna say the shows that they were kind of like disparaging on the Macworld, or the movies they were disparaging on the Macworld podcast, I was like, they weren't bad movies. I enjoyed them. They weren't a waste of time, except for I don't think they had mentioned Argyle, which would have been my top. Like that's one of the worst. That was a terrible movie. It was such a bait and switch, the trailer and the actual movie. But a lot of the ones they mentioned were like ones that Apple never released in the cinema. We went straight to streaming. But I was like, I don't know what they were expecting, but they're also not they're not critics. So anyway, I know not to take their advice for movies, but I was going to say, I feel like they've had some really good movies. And I think at this point, we're in the, I know people have stated that The Sopranos was the new kicked off the new golden age of TV. That being, HBO made that happen because you could put content in a TV show that you didn't have to edit. So you could actually show things that were real or, evoked a certain feeling that you just would never get away with it on network TV or even cable TV. And so the fact that streaming came along just only, bolstered that growth in TV shows. You've got streaming services that are making a bunch of money, and they want to have their own content so that they have control over it, and they're not having to continually doing. They're not. At the beginning, Netflix was everything was contractual, and so now they have you have all these streaming services that have money to spend. They want their own content. They're gonna pay for it. Like the only good thing that comes from having all of these streaming services is that we've got studios getting money to make good TV shows. That's the only good that comes from having a multitude of streaming services, or too many, or a saturation of streaming services.
Yeah, it's kind of tough.
They'll eventually buy each other.
Well, it's kind of tough to figure out whether it's really good or bad for the consumer, because it depends on which argument you want. It's good from the standpoint of competition driving content, but it's bad from the standpoint of now if you want to watch everything, you're paying double what you were paying for cable.
Anyway, what was the movie we were talking about?
I don't think we were talking about a specific movie.
Oh, I just said movies in general. That's right.
Yeah.
We got some time, I think. You want to talk about some AirPods Pro 3?
Sure. I don't know that I have a lot to say. A couple of things caught my eye. So, I assume you watched the event at some point.
I have not.
Okay.
But I did look at the
website.
I looked. Yes.
Okay. So I have remembered the event when there was like a minute and a half left. So I did watch it though after they put the stream up, just because I had enough time to kind of skim through and do so. So AirPods Pro 3. Overall, there were some things that I caught snippets that sound like it could be appealing, like from a physical design perspective, where they've tried to make them more comfortable and fit ears better and all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of thing that's just going to have to wait and see in person anyway. But there's a feature that's not specific to the AirPods Pro, but was touted with them that was really interesting, that grabbed my attention, which was live translation. And the reason I say it's not AirPods Pro specific is because technically it can be done with just a phone as well. But they showed where if you have two people with AirPods Pro 3, you could essentially carry on a conversation in your native language and have that real-time translation with the other person and not have to, flip a screen and show them, etc. It was just more conversational.
Basically, it's a translator in your ear. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the way.
That's really
to
cool.
Think about it. And I'm fascinated with it because being around the Brazilian jiu-jitsu stuff, I hear Portuguese all the time. And this seems like it might be a way to finally kind of immerse myself well enough to maybe even learn Portuguese by being conversational, even if I'm doing a lot of it in English. You know what I mean? So there's just everything about that is fascinating to me. I like the concept. I like the idea. Part of the reason it was announced with the AirPods Pro as well is because if you put it in transparency mode so that you can hear the voices around you and all, then you can turn on live translation in that mode. So like if you're walking through a market or something else, you could pick up on different things without having to specifically tap live translation in the moment, kind of thing. Anyway, seemed like a really neat feature.
It does seem like a neat feature. I think it gets us closer to. It's kind of science fiction becoming science fact, and that's really cool.
It does remind me a lot of any show that talks about or has different races, like alien races and all. They always had
like a
some
Star Trek
of
thing, yeah.
Yeah, like a universal translator. Well, not always, but that was a common thing.
Yeah, no, it's a. I mean, that's a cool feature. That's a really cool feature. The heart rate sensor. So I've heard some folks talk about the heart rate sensor because I think there's a Beats headphone that already has the heart rate feature, and there's some interesting things about that. At least if it works the same, because I think it's part of the H3 SoC, and
I believe so.
The way it works in the Beats headphone is if you've got an Apple Watch on, the heart rate monitoring is always going to default to the Apple Watch instead of the headphones. But if you don't have an Apple Watch on, the headphones will do it. And the thing that's tricky is it will you can't listen to music or you can't listen to audio on one device and have the heart rate sensor work at the same time. So the example given, somebody was talking about in their gym, you can there's like I guess a Bluetooth broadcast something or whatever, so that you can just instead of you can have your headphones connect to the Bluetooth of the television that you're looking at in the gym, instead of having to use your phone or whatever. So if in that case, because Bluetooth is only capable of one device at a time, if you want to listen to the audio at the gym on their television, then you won't be able to use the heart rate sensor because it requires the phone. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense for sure. It's kind of a moot point for me because I'll be wearing the watch for everything anyway. Right. Well, not everything, because obviously I can't wear it while I'm on the mats. And so I actually use the Whoop band for that because it goes around the arm. And so I can wear it around the bicep and it's out of the way. I could also wear a chest strap if I wanted to. I've done that a few times with a Polar heart rate monitor. The Whoop band thing is just more comfortable from that perspective.
That makes sense.
But outside of that, like I can't think of any scenario where I work out and get heart rate data that wouldn't be coming from the watch, or at least or some other device anyway. But I can't think of a scenario where I would have AirPods in and not have the watch on. Maybe that's a better way to put it. But I still think it's neat to any place that you can add that type of sensor. Why not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's these. I don't imagine these sensors are terribly expensive, and they do provide a lot of it. They provide good information. At one point, Apple was talking about how many people have customers that have the Apple Watch. They get some notification on their watch that something about their heart rhythm, and this is more than a heart rate, but their heart rhythm is atypical, or it basically says, hey, you should probably go check in with your doctor, and they've found like some issues with heart issues, and we're able to address them early on. I mean, that's amazing. And then I think all of the analytics that you get from that is really cool. I love it when it tells right now I'm in a phase where it's like I'm walking a little bit slower than I was a few weeks ago, and so I was like, I paid attention to that and I picked up my pace, and so I'm looking forward to seeing the fitness app telling me, it's like, oh, you're walking faster now. You've had a period of walking faster. I really love the ones where it says, hey, your resting heart rate is lower than it was over the last, the last 6 weeks is lower than it was the 6 weeks before that on average. And I was like, that's really good to know.
That's a good segue into talking about the watch, actually.
Yeah, I know.
So the sleep stuff isn't overly it has had sleep tracking. The big difference is that now you get a general score about quality of sleep. Maybe there's a little more detail. I didn't look that close, but what caught me about this is that it makes it more user friendly and more on par with other devices that give you feedback about sleep, which means that Apple is at least taking the competition serious enough to address it with a feature, which I think is great. There are two things that I really wish Apple would do, and this takes one of those things off that list, which is to give you some actionable idea about quality of sleep. You can look at the graph and you can kind of figure it out prior to this, but this gives you a much better idea of whether your sleep was good or bad. But I would also like to see them give you feedback over stress and recovery for the course of the day. Because if you're wearing your watch that much, you're collecting the same general data that a lot of these other newer devices are also doing to calculate a stress score for the day or a recovery score after sleep, based on like heart rate variability or activity in general, and additionally making insights more useful for the user with regard to all the data that you can look at in health is really the missing link. That would be the game changer for Apple specifically, to be able to say, yeah, we do all that stuff too. Like, if you want to do all that and do this other stuff, see us. If you just want that stuff, talk to them. Um, so it would be great to see more of that happen, but it did catch me, or it was something I wanted to make note of, that, yeah, they are at least paying attention to what the competition's doing, and I think that's a good thing.
I agree. I definitely agree.
The other thing
The
was,
blood pressure.
yeah, I find this interesting because of
Me
family
too.
history of heart-related issues, and so any additional thing that's kind of monitoring that catches my attention.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have a blood pressure cuff from Cardio. It's spelled QARDIO, and I got it because I didn't have one, and my doctor wanted me to start taking my blood pressure several times a day, and I haven't even graded it, but I my sample said it's not zero, but I have, which was before I got it, but it's not. I haven't collected as much data as he's asked me to. I have picked it up because I want that information to, I want to take care of myself, and so I saw, that would be really nice to just be able to take my blood pressure from the watch. That would be really good, and I would probably spend some time making sure, using the cuff and making sure it's accurate. I did do that with the doctor. Like, I took it with me and I compared it with their instrument and so forth, and it was accurate. So, yeah, I think that would be. I think getting your blood pressure from the watch would be really cool.
Yeah, I didn't watch this segment all that closely. My understanding is it's not quite to that point yet. It's more calculation based on other factors where they can tell you we believe you have like risk of consistent high blood pressure.
Oh.
So I don't think it's actually blood pressure measurements yet, but it's a step in that direction. And I could be wrong. I didn't see anything specific giving blood pressure, but just anything that would give you, hey, you've had elevated blood pressure for X amount of time, is definitely a positive.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because I honestly, I know that they're not actually taking the blood pressure. I don't think there's a way to do that with the sensors in the watch for its location and just the lack of compression to be able to do that. But it does make sense that they could extrapolate, potential hypertension for a period of time based on a lot of other metrics, and maybe something new with the a different sensor that's been added to the watch. So, and then that when you said that, it made me think about a graphic on the site for the webpage for the Ultra 3, and it said that it showed an alert where it says like hypertension. You've had a state of hypertension for X amount of time, or it's been elevated. Your blood pressure's been elevated for a certain amount of time. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was just an alert, and I was like, oh, okay. So yeah. I think it's it's still it's still really good. So
yeah, I am not good at necessarily taking my blood pressure as often as doctors would like either, but I also I'm pretty sure I've talked about it on the show, but prior to getting in shape, I was on medication for being hypertensive, and so I did the whole get the Withings blood pressure monitor because I wanted the data in health kit,
mm-hmm.
And then took it to the doctor to make sure that it measured accurately compared to their measurements and tracked it pretty well. And then once I lost the weight and everything and came off the medication, I just haven't been as good at it. But every time I go for a checkup, the doctor's like, yeah, I'm not concerned about it here. At this point, like, well, like I don't get the impression that I need to stay on it like I was certainly before, but even for just my awareness, it would make more sense for me to do better than I've been doing. And so something
Yeah.
like this to me is perfect because it gives me that extra layer of, hey, we detect that there's an issue or a trend or something, and of course you can't rely completely on it, and they make it quite clear in their data that it is not necessarily going to catch all instances either, but
I think
still,
they've always said that, but it's just like,
well,
yeah, it's
you have to
new.
protect yourself legally. That's what it comes down
Well,
to.
right, because these are not medical devices.
Right.
These are non-medical devices that can give you some medical metrics to help you find out. So, just some real-time follow-up. What Ultra 3 will do is it tells you get notified of chronic high blood pressure, and what it does is it'll notify you if it identifies patterns of hypertension by using the optical sensor to provide data to an algorithm that can detect potential hypertension by analyzing how your blood vessels respond to beats of the heart over 30-day periods. So then it says if you receive hypertension notifications and have access to a blood pressure cuff, you can track your blood pressure in the health app on iPhone. So, and you can create a report. So that's nice. So I wonder if there'll be some if they need to update anything, because I mean, you've been able to track blood pressure in the health app for a long time. I've been doing it with the cardio blood pressure cuff. So, yeah, it's really, I think that's a good thing. So it's not quite, I was initially saying something like, oh, it'd be great to tell me my blood pressure, but it's not really doing that so much as alerting you that you could have hypertension.
Yeah. And I do think eventually we'll get to a point where there's a sensor that's able to give you an estimate, at least similar to like the blood oxygen thing, if nothing else, where it may not be real accurate, but it'd be accurate enough to give you an idea.
Exactly. I want to see this. I want to get this new watch face.
So I decided I'm probably going to go ahead and upgrade my watch this cycle. I haven't definitively decided that, but again, the family history of heart disease, like that, just the hypertension stuff alone would be worth it. And so I need to dig in and see if that is just a software adjustment or if there's something specific to Ultra 3.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be specific to Ultra 3.
I think so too, but
yeah.
That's one of the things that is factoring into my decision. And the other is just that I kind of like the black. When I bought the original Ultra, that wasn't an option, and
right.
so. But we'll see.
I've seen the black, and I was like, I like the natural better. But changing it up is nice too.
Yeah, I don't think I would get rid of my original Ultra. But I don't know.
I wanna try some of the. I can't remember. It's like I feel like the watch has. How much storage does the Ultra have?
I've never paid attention to the storage. I think it's 64 gig.
That's what I had in my head, which is like more than the first iPod I had, and
drastically more than the first iPod I had.
Well, see, I didn't have. I had a 60 gig. I think it was iPod. I think it was 60 gig. The iPod Photo, big old honking thing. Well, not too big, not much bigger than the original, but I just remember a friend of mine said, "Your iPod has more storage than my computer." I was like, I want it on my music with me. And anyway, I was just like, I don't use it enough, and I want to take advantage of offline maps. I think that would be really great, especially in when you don't have signal. I think offline maps would be really good, especially now that Maps has what am I looking for?
The topographical maps,
or just trail maps in the Maps app.
Gotcha.
And it looks like they updated the Dive Computer app The first party?
The Oceanic one or
Mm.
the depth one? Because the Oceanic one is
Mm.
for the dive computer. The depth
Okay,
one is
okay.
the Apple.
No, no, yeah, it's not the depth app. It is the Oceanic computer. I misread that. They 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 have it featured on the website for the Ultra. So, and
I
I'll say I kind of think that the colors that they had last year for bands was a little bit better last year for the Ultra.
Yeah, I don't like these bands as much. But to me, that's always been it. Like I don't like most of their bands that much. It's just waiting and finding the ones I do like.
I will tell you, I actually really like the Hermes bands that they make for the Ultra. They make some specific Apple Watch Ultra bands, and I was like, those are pretty nice.
Are you talking about the new ones I made for this year with the rubber or silicone or whatever for more active use, or the other ones?
The old ones, the ones for the last year.
Yeah, I just can't convince myself to pay that much for a name.
No, I can't either. I can't either, but I like them.
I agree. Like I do agree with the sentiment.
Actually, I don't like the new ones that they released. The I just like the old. They still have the old ones. They changed some of the colors, but man, $450 for the band is quite a lot.
Yeah. Like for that, I want the titanium link bracelet thing instead. You know,
Well, they don't make it in titanium.
I know that's why I'm annoyed. And
Yeah.
that's part of what I didn't like about the new phones is that they've gone back to aluminum, which yes, it makes sense. This is just me being
I
me
know.
because I
Yeah.
love titanium and
Yep.
uh, you know
And this was a rumor that they were going to go back to the aluminum, and when I heard that, I was like, "Yep, that's what Apple does. They release something in titanium, and then be like, you know what, aluminum's better." It's. I mean, as far as I assume, as far as I think I would assume aluminum is easier to manufacture. It's easier for it's better for cooling. It's better for strength and also anodizing for color. So,
and it doesn't like titanium blocks all wireless
oh
signals.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Aluminum is a little more forgiving if with regard to that.
slightly more transparent.
Yeah. So
But the
it definitely makes sense. I always hate it when it's aluminum instead of titanium.
well, if you still want titanium for a new phone, the iPhone Air has a titanium band around it.
Yeah, I'm not touching the Air. That is not the phone for me.
It will be when the Pro is that thin, and there won't be an Air. Or so I wonder. I want to see how long is it going to take for, when Apple released the iPad Air, it was the thinnest iPad, and it wasn't the highest in. Well, was it the highest in iPad at the time? Was there an iPad Pro at that point? I can't
There,
remember. Doesn't matter.
I don't think there was.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, maybe there was.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember for sure.
Point being is that for a while the iPad Air was a mid-range iPad, and that worked. And um, some real-time follow-up. It did exist before the iPad Pro by 3 years. 2013, the first iPad Air came out, and 2016 was the first iPad Pro. But at this point, uh, the iPad Pro is significantly thinner than the Air, current models, and so the Air doesn't. It no longer makes sense in as far as the name is concerned. It did at the time, but it doesn't anymore. So I wonder. I'm like, how long is it going to take for the the iPhone Pro to be thinner than the iPad or the iPhone Air?
I think it's going to depend a lot on how they eventually handle camera technology. Because part of why the Air is as thin as it is because it doesn't have the same camera capabilities as what obviously as the Pro, but it's they're achieving a similar effect to the regular iPhone, but it's not quite the same. And I didn't look that close at all the details, but there's
it's a compromise. So
yeah, and so it depends a lot, I think, on whether you really want to target any type of professional use, like they seem to be trying to do on the pro side with the camera system at least, or if you decide it's not worth it. But I don't see how you could get that thin without a massive change in camera technology allowing it. And there's a point where that's just physics, you know. And so I don't know. I mean, at some point, something will shift and something will be achieved in a way that we haven't thought of. That's kind of the nature of technology, right? But when you're talking about how we know cameras work, there's a certain point that you just can't overcome the basics of how light works. So either you're going to change the nature of picture taking and it's no longer going to be, this framework of shooting the image onto a sensor, and it's going to be something else entirely, or you're going to have to come up with a way to reflect through the body in a way to the sensor that we haven't thought of, or that something would have to massively shift. All that is just to say that as long as you have this camera system on the pro side and you have people actually using the capabilities of this camera system, I think that's going to dictate the lack of ability to make it as thin for the iPhone Air to become obsolete for a while, at least until that shift in just general camera technology either ever happens or just never happens.
Right.
Because I have to assume that that's part of why it hasn't gotten thinner, so to speak, now, and why they've now embraced this. If we're going to have the raised area around the camera, let's give it a marketing name and call it something else and have it expand the whole width of the phone.
I don't. It's funny that they have a name for it, Forge Plateau.
So I call it two different names. I don't know if there's actually an official name after that. Because so I call it Raised Plateau or something to that effect, and then the Forged Plateau, and when they were talking about how it was part of the unibody construction.
I really love how I've heard it referred to colloquially as the camera mesa. I rather like that. But the mock-ups and the rumors, I was just like, I don't think I really am. I dislike that. But having thought about it and seen the mock-ups, I was just like prepared for something worse than it is. I mean, it's not much better than I was thinking it would be, but it is. I wasn't quite as offended by it as I thought I was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it actually makes sense if you're going to have anything partially raised on one side. It makes it a lot easier to set it down if you at least raise things all the way around.
No,
well,
it looks like the lenses are still sticking out, so it's still going to be.
But there's a difference between it depends on your use case. But like a specific example I can think of, if I currently put the phone on a shelf on a teleprompter, it's difficult to get it in position where it sits reliably in the place that it needs to sit without playing with it a little bit. Whereas if there was something to keep the lip from wobbling quite as much on the other side of the phone, it would be useful. It's a very minor thing, but it's where I've noticed it the most over the past 6 months to a year. So I think maybe this will help a little bit with very specific use cases, but it's still it doesn't it doesn't look good.
No, I don't think it looks as. I think it does not. I think the old camera Mesa looks better. But I kind of want to see. It's not something that would keep me from buying the phone. It's not that bad. But I think that at this point, I've resigned that if I want to lay my phone down flat, I have to put a case on it, and I have to lay it screen down. So I use I have a Peak Design everyday case. And the next time I buy a phone, I'll buy I'll actually probably look into buying their, I don't know if they pronounce it Ganar case. But, because I don't always use a case, and when I do, it's usually when I'm traveling, and it's usually when I'm traveling, and it's so that in case something happens, I have just a little something extra so that I wouldn't have to find an Apple store while away, because that would be fairly inconvenient.
Yeah, I do the same thing. When I don't know that I ever use a case other than if I'm specifically wanting to use the mount for the tripod, the creator kit mount. So I'll use it for that specifically, or I've got the bar mount as well, the one that just has a strap that you can wrap around a bar that has that same mechanism.
Is it out like the same as the bicycle mount?
I think it's the same. Yeah.
I have the bicycle mount.
It's just the one that instead of it, I think they make two different versions of the one I'm thinking of. One that's like you affix it to the mount with a clamp style thing, and the other is just a strap that wraps around and pulls through.
Oh, the universal bar mount. That is a strap. Okay, yeah. And the out front bike mount is a clamp.
So
I have that.
The universal mount is the one I have, because my use case for it is different. It's to put it on like a leg of a chair or a shelf or something to like wrap it around and shoot.
Did you accomplish that? Was that in the episode 0 of Renegade Noble? Was that you're using that with your iPhone, or was it a different camera that you had in that shot? Where I was like, it took me a while to figure out what angle I was looking at you.
I did not use it. But I did use the phone. So that particular shot was a magnetic mount that I could then position differently.
Gotcha.
But yeah, all that is to say that I do the same thing with cases. Like, unless I'm using it for something creative, the only other time I use a case is if I'm traveling, just to give the phone some protection.
Yep. I was gonna say that's about how I am, and sometimes I might leave it on a little longer. Like I'll be on vacation or I'll be traveling, and like when I went on a family vacation in July, I kept it on for about a month after I got back, just because I was like, I had gotten used to it, and I was like, I paid for this case, I might as well.
I will say, excuse me, once I decided to go with the Max phones, the case doesn't bother me to put on it. It's like it's already big and unwieldy. What's a little bit extra?
That's fair. That makes sense. How do you like these colors?
I kind of like the blue. I don't know that I really like the others, though.
I'm glad they did something that was actually bright.
I agree. Like a orange.
It was a cosmic orange.
Yeah, I think it looks good. It's just not for me. Like, orange is not a color I like.
Well, I think last time we were talking about this, I said it's never. I doubt that it'll ever be for me, but I'm glad they're doing it. And I've had a blue phone for a couple of years now, and I think I would go with the silver. I love the classic early 2000s white and silver look. That the iPod look. Like that was the first thing. The iPod.
I would have to see it in person, but from the product photography perspective, the thing I don't like about the silver is how different a shade that ceramic back piece is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, it stands out too much on the silver, whereas it blends better with the blue. But at the same time, that's very much a in person, it may not feel that way kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not like it's a bad thing. I just don't like that.
Sorry, what was that?
I was just adding, it's not like it's a bad thing. It's just not my preference.
Yeah, and see, that's where it's like I'm okay with that. Even from the product shots, if it's that much contrast, I'm like I'm okay with that. And I think it might be partially because I haven't had a white phone in a long time. And when I say a long time, I'm going back to the 3GS. Sorry, 3G. Oh, I briefly had a 3GS. I never used it. I just sold it.
Just get it to sell it? Is that what you did?
Well, so this was, I had an iPhone 3G, and then there was the, the cracks that happened in the plastic.
Yes.
So at the Genius Spot, it was so funny. It was so funny. I'll tell this story because I think, it was a, I guess, non-public repair extension program for the iPhone 3G and 3G, probably 3GS as well. And basically, if there were cracks in the plastic in the back, which it was prone to do, you could get it replaced even outside of warranty, and they replaced the entire phone. And so I remember one of the geniuses I worked with, he was like, going on vacation, I need a new battery, so I need a new phone. I got some of these cracks in here, so give me a new battery. I just remember that being like, that was just a thing. And anyway, after I got my iPhone 4, I had my iPhone 3G replaced, and I waited until they didn't have any 3G in stock, because when they didn't have them in stock, they would upgrade you to a 3GS. So I waited for it to not be in stock, got it swapped when it wasn't in stock, got the iPhone 3GS. I already had the iPhone 4, so I never used it. I sold it as a unused device. I didn't say new, but I said unused.
Nice.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that repair program.
Yeah, it was 2010 and 11.
Yep.
So,
the other thing that caught my attention that I just want to call out real quick, just because I think it is neat from an engineering perspective, but they called out that thermal management with the Pro, that vapor chamber. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That just seemed neat. I really liked the idea.
That's really cool.
And that's all. I have no real additional follow up beyond that, other than it's neat.
I honestly thought that the forged plateau, is that what it is? Is that what we're calling it?
I know I heard them say that with the when they were talking about the aluminum unibody construction, but it might have been specific to that. Like they might have actually given it a different name.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I thought. That's where the vapor chamber was going to be, but it's not there. It's inside. You can't see it. So I wonder what the volume of DI water they put in there is.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. They certainly didn't call it out.
No. I can't imagine that it's a lot, but I feel like this is a throwback to early to mid 2000s Apple. One with having a product in titanium and then changing it over to aluminum, and then the Mac Pro G5 that was liquid cooled. We now have a liquid cooled iPhone.
Yeah. I didn't think about that, but yeah.
No, I didn't think about it until just now. But yeah, there's two throwbacks. So I need someone. I need. Yeah.
I'm sure somebody will eventually get the specs on that.
Yeah. No. I need to. iFixit. I hope that iFixit. I gotta imagine someone over at iFixit is gonna be like, I need to measure how much water is in here. I would expect that it's in. I don't expect it's in. I don't know that it would be even more than. I'm not sure that you would use milliliters even. Maybe microliters.
Maybe.
So I used to have. So when I worked in a lab, I used to have to measure things in microliters, and I think like a drop of like a small drop of water is like a few microliters. So we had pipettes that you could adjust and say, I remember. Okay, this is going back. This is going back for me. I want to say. I'm trying to remember what the company was that made these pipettes. I don't know. When I say pipette, what it is? What comes to mind?
A plastic like dropper type thing.
Okay, that's yeah. That's what I was expecting you to say, because that's what I thought a pipette. Even if you're taking even if you take science classes in undergrad, that's what you're gonna get. Maybe a glass one, like a large glass one for that you would use a bulb with.
Yeah, I know I said plastic, but you could also think of the I guess most of the time it would be glass, just from a reactivity standpoint.
Right. Yeah, but there's definitely plastic ones with a plastic bulb on the end, and it's just a single piece of plastic that looks like it might have been like heated, or I don't know. Maybe it was. There's a mold for two sides, and then they melt them together. I'm not sure, but there was a company. So in like when you have, like grant money, and you're doing, postgraduate work, there's the world of pipetting is quite different. There's a company. The company is called Rainin, and they're the ones that I think they're the probably one of the most popular brands of pipettes. And we're talking about this big honking plastic thing. And when I say big honking plastic thing, it's like something that would fit comfortably, ergonomically in your hand. And they have tips, and so you can get a pipette that can do as little as half a microliter, and then you'll have some that will do a full milliliter. And I think the milliliter is like the top end, but because you're typically at that point you're going to move to like an electric pipetter, which is a whole other thing. So I just remember the plunger that you use to push the liquid out. If you wanted to go cheap, it would be a spring inside of there. But if you wanted the nice one, it was magnetic resistance. So you have like two magnets that are like poles are facing each other, and they're contained inside of the handle. So when you push down, it's always going to go up. And it just was it was surprisingly smoother, and it did make a difference. But I think, we're talking about like, gosh, I don't know. It's been 20 years. Since I was, buying those things for the lab. I don't remember how much, but I just remember you have like, somebody really is like, we can make a better pipette, and they really did make a better pipette. But it had a dial on it, so you could choose. You knew exactly how much. You didn't have to measure. You just set the dial on the pipette, put a tip on it for how much. For the that would be the right capacity, and then you put it in your liquid. Push. Usually I push down to get all the air out, and then draw it all. Put it in before you let it draw, so you don't draw any air in and get the exact amount. And then they had multi pipettes. So if you had a lot of times you might be doing a lot of reactions at once. You might have like a plate that has it's usually like 10 wells, and so you could have a pipette that had 10 tips, and that was really cool.
That's interesting. I haven't seen one like that.
I'll see if I can send you a picture, but yeah, it was really cool. I honestly never thought I would be talking this much about pipettes, but then I remember when they got the electric one, where it was like you didn't even have to. I don't even know I can't even remember why this was a thing, but I remember there was a readout on it, and I'm not sure. I honestly can't tell you why it was important, but yeah, it was a thing. Multi-channel pipette. That's the word I'm looking for. Multi-channel. That was the one that has it's like 8 or 10. I can't remember tips. So
yeah, it definitely makes sense. In an actual lab environment for sure.
Yeah. We have a number of different ways set up for you to get in touch with us to provide feedback, ask questions, or just comment in about something we've discussed.
You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at untitled_hosts, or shoot an email over to untitled.hosts@gmail.com.
or get in touch directly with Jesse at jthart.com, or get in touch with me, John, via telepathy.
If you would like to support our work or are interested in listening to our new after show feed, head over to patreon.com/theUntitledPodcast and take a look at the options we have set up.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
And we hope to connect with more of you as we continue this journey.
That's a wrap.